I mean, first of all, I would say that Allah has created a creation. You know, your endeavors on this planet are diverse. There's all these different people. There are very simple people, and those people actually are lucky. You know, simple faith. You know, this famous Fakhruddin al-Razi was walking once with all these students in his trail, you know, and this old woman saw him, and she asked one of the students, "Who's that?" Because she's amazed all these followers. And he looks, he said, "Astaghfirullah, you don't know, that's Fakhruddin al-Razi. He has 70 proofs for the existence of God." And she said, if he didn't have 70 doubts, he wouldn't need 70 proofs. And when Fakhruddin heard that, he said, "Alaykum bi Imaan al-ajaiz." Have the faith of old women. You know, that's real faith, right? And so there's a great blessing. You should never belittle simple people, because some of the most beautiful followers of the Prophet were simple people, like that woman who used to sweep or firfira. You know, firfira. Does anybody know who that is? Firfira. Sometimes it's called kirkira. Does anybody know who kirkira was? Nobody? Wow, man, you guys should know these people. Kirkira an-Nubi. He was one of the servants of the Prophet ﷺ. You know, he loved the Prophet ﷺ. Do you know who Safina was? Safina, Mawla Rasulillah. He was a servant of the Prophet ﷺ. He was a freed slave, and he served the Prophet. And he tells, this is a true story, he tells that he got lost in a forest, and a lion came and was about to attack him. He says, "Wayhaka, you know, watch out." He said, "Ana Safina Mawla Rasulillah." I'm Safina, the servant of the Prophet Muhammad. And he said that the lion, he said he came up and started nudging him, and then he walked him through, and he warned any animal that threatened him until he got him out. And then he said when he said that, he wagged his tail as if he was acknowledging it. And then when he left, he said the lion hum-hama, like as if as if he was saying goodbye to me. And we have many examples of that from Sahaba. So these are simple people that had profound faith. But you also have Einsteins. You have people like Richard Feynman, you know, who are thinking about some of the most abstract things on the planet. Religion has to encompass the whole spectrum. It's not a true religion if it can't satisfy the most brilliant people and the simplest people. And that's the genius of our religion. And this is why I'll give you one example of this. Bruno Guardadoni, all right? Bruno Guardadoni is in the top 10 cosmologists on the planet. He's a physicist, astrophysicist, which is our highest material science, astrophysics. You can't get any higher than astrophysics. He's an astrophysicist. He was actually responsible for looking at background radiation and analyzing background radiation from the edges of the universe. I read an article about him in the Herald Tribune. And in that book, and in that article, he talked about how, as a cosmologist, he looks at the universe as signs that need to be interpreted. And I was thinking, he should read the Quran. So then when I Googled him, I found out he had become Muslim in France. And this man has over 100 peer-reviewed papers on galaxy formation, right? I mean, he's really one of the top scientists in the world. And we almost had him at Harvard, and Harvard was so excited about getting him. We were going to do a thing, because I corresponded with him. But he said in one paper, he said, as a scientist, I had to be true to my intellect. And he said, but as a believer, I also had to satisfy my heart. And he said, I found Islam was the only religion that could do that for me. That it didn't negate my intellect, and it asserted my heart. And so philosophy, the Muslims, philosophy is dangerous because if you're not grounded in tradition well, and you go into philosophy first, you can really get confused. Especially modern philosophy, because a lot of modern philosophy is very atheistic, and And these poor students go into university courses and take these courses in philosophy. And these guys are powerful sophists that really know how to argue and confuse people. But philosophy as a subject in the Islamic tradition is essential to the religion, because in having a metaphysical foundation for your religion, you can defend it in a way that can't be defended without that foundation when great, what they call obfuscations or shubuhat come. And in losing philosophers, we lose defenders of the faith. And then the defense becomes the bludgeon, it just becomes the hammer, which is no defense. So you need philosophy to be part of the. And I just literally today I sent to Ustad Abdullah Ali. Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya was interviewed on Sky News, and the interviewer, who was from the Gulf, one of the Gulf states, he said, "Sheikh, you're always quoting philosophers that some ulama say philosophy is haram." And he said philosophy is hikmah. And he said philosophers are men, and they sometimes have wisdom that we can benefit from. And he said, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-hikmatu dhalatul mu'min." Wisdom is the lost property of the believer. Wherever he finds it, he has more right to it. And so there's great wisdom in philosophy. There's great wisdom in poetry. I mean, poetry is one of the great art forms of Muslims, and that's why people like Amir Suleiman are so important, because that art form is it's a sign that we're maintaining our humanity. If you have a culture that doesn't have poets, you're in big trouble. Really, because poets, what they're doing is they're using language as the art form, and language is the highest thing that we have as a species. And this is why the Quran is words. And there are many beautiful art forms, but we share those art forms with most other creatures. I mean, beavers build extraordinary dams that are marvel to look at. Bees make beautiful works of art. They're tessellated honeycombs, beautiful hexagrams. But the poet, his art form is the gift that God gave us. Ar-Rahman, Lamuhul Bayan. He taught human beings how to articulate. And this is the great gift. And that's why our community was always a community of language. And you cannot understand language at the deepest levels without having a philosophical foundation for the languages, which is why we had great grammarians, we had great rhetoricians, and if you study them, they were profound philosophers of language. Really. There's a Palestinian Arab who wrote a PhD dissertation, which I read. Dr. Omar had, I gave it to Dr. Omar. The PhD dissertation showing that a lot of his theories were actually preceded by Iraqi grammarians in the 4th century. Right. Yeah. So, yeah. And metaphysics is the first science because it's the science of first principles. And you have to have a metaphysical foundation. The Quran has many metaphysical implications, but because it's a revelation, it's not a book of philosophy, but embedded in it is a metaphysical perspective that has to be drawn out. And I'll just, to give you one example, there are two ways to look at the world. One is that the world is evil by its nature, and there's all these horrible things that happen in the world. And the other is to see the world as a testing ground for your own spiritual growth. Because things are going to happen that are very troubling in your life. But the Quranic perspective is that he does these things in order for you to grow. And so the believer grows by it, and the disbeliever is stunted by it.